All right, ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of What's Brewing. My name is Andy Brew coming at you. This is our first ever live episode. It's only episode 2, but this is our first live episode. It's going to be a solo episode today. Some of these podcasts are going to be solo. Some of these podcasts I'm going to have friends on with me. We're going to go live with this one. I think this one's going to be very fun. It's going to be I have a very interesting topic and maybe controversial topic that I'm going to talk about today. And I figured, you know what, let's make the chat the guests, right? Because I want to hear from you guys. So yeah, this is how this is going to work. I think most of my solo podcasts are going to be live. And then whenever we have a guest, those will be recorded and premiered. The next podcast after this will be another Game Awards podcast, except it will be after the events of the Game Awards, which happens in just 4 days. On Thursday, December 11th, I will be having a guest on for that. And that will be probably premiering next week sometime. And of course, I will be live for the Game Awards, watching the Game Awards as well on Thursday. So that's whenever you guys can catch me next. Let me say hi to all the wonderful people who made it early for the podcast. Jay Ray's in the chat was good. The Kingdom Hearts 3 anthem is the theme that will allegedly glaze Sora. Yeah, the Raged Awaken. You know, I chose that theme because I know I'm going to make some people upset today. All right, I have some rage. I'm not saying I'm going to be rage baiting, right? I have arguments, and I have counter arguments for arguments that I've seen. All right, but we're going to be getting into that. Amber was good. Dylan, my Empire, said my goat is live. My goat is in the chat, actually, live on Sunday night, late afternoon. Let's go, dude. Let's go. Treehouse on the YouTube side. He said making people upset. Yay, let's go. Let's make it interesting. That's right. Haven't heard this banger in a long time, and I love how you matched it all the intros and one hodgepodge. Not all the intros, but some of the old ones. I think whenever we get more podcast content, I'm going to be editing the intro slightly. So how this is going to work is I'm going to be yapping for a while. I don't know how much I'm going to be looking at the chat at the very beginning, but I am going to read what you guys have to say, and I'm going to be addressing you guys as well. Let me take a quick little sip of water here. Treehouse said he's already half angry. He's already half Xehanort, chat. Somebody stop this man. Okay, so I'm going to be yapping, and let's talk about what's brewing. So here's what I want to talk about today. This isn't something that just came up. It did come up last month in November, and I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm going to be switching over to show you kind of, I don't really have like a lot of like videos or anything like that set up, but I'm going to be mainly going on Twitter and just kind of showing you what people have been talking about. But this conversation has not been happening, it didn't just start last month. No, this conversation has been happening for years, and I've been wanting to talk about this because I have a lot to say about this. Is Sora the most overglazed character in video games? And here's what I mean by that. I'm not talking about his character as a whole or like his writing or like things like that. I love Sora. I think he's great. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite franchises of all time, if not my favorite, my all-time favorite franchise of all time. That's not what I'm talking about here, right? What I'm talking about is there are a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans on the internet, at least from what I've seen, who think that Sora is like the Goku of Square Enix. And what I mean by that is not that he's like as powerful as Goku, but people glaze him to be as powerful as somebody like that or like this godlike character. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I've seen a lot of arguments on why like Sora can beat like someone like Goku, Sora can beat this person. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The whole point of this podcast is to talk about and just to give my thoughts about how I don't think Sora, like, I think Sora is powerful, but I don't think he's as powerful as a lot of people are making him out to be. So that's what this episode is going to be. And listen, I am willing to be proven wrong. I'm willing to be proven wrong. I want to hear from you guys, like I've got an open mind about this. But I want to propose that, like, Sora, I don't even think is the strongest character in his own verse. And I know that sounds crazy, but you have to understand 90% of his feats is with other people, right? And that doesn't, I'm not downplaying Sora's ability because he most of his combat experience and most of the battles that he is participating in is with others. Like, it's still impressive, but we're talking about 1v1 scenarios, and we're going to be looking at a 1v1 scenario that was being discussed last month on Twitter. I think Sora with Donald and Goofy and with other people is almost unstoppable. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I want to talk about, though, is 1v1. Sora by himself is not the strongest character in his own verse. I think Xehanort is stronger than Sora. I think Terranort is stronger than Sora, right? Xehanort kill shot Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3 with the Keyblade, right? And Sora's only brought back because of Donald and Goofy behind him, right? You literally get the game over screen. Not to mention that Terranort also embarrasses not only the Guardians, but that fight in Remind where Sora actually fights Terranort. Sora doesn't actually win that fight. A lot of people say that he wins that fight. No, he doesn't. He actually loses. Terranort actually beats Sora and Lingering Will in a 2v1, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And Jay Ray says, I think he's slightly overglazed, but not to the extent of other characters in gaming. Yeah, and I think, like, I'm with you, right? Like, I think he is... There's probably other characters who are more overglazed than Sora is. But in the Kingdom Hearts community, Kingdom Hearts fans think that Sora is like a godlike character, and I just don't see it personally. So I'm going to get into that, but before I get into that, and what we're going to be like, who we're going to be pitting him against in a 1v1, spoiler alerts, it's Clive Rossfield, because that's what people were talking about. I want to make one thing clear, and this is very important so you guys can see where I'm coming from. I am not going to be doing this power scaling BS, okay? Power scaling is too inconsistent, especially in Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts power scaling and power scaling in general is too inconsistent. People try to make these characters as powerful as possible without any consideration to any kind of consistency, story, or evidence. That's what power scaling really is. We're just going to take what Sora can do and what somebody like, for example, Clive Rossfield can do. Let's just put them in an arena with their abilities, and let's just think who can come up on top. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Sora loses 10 times out of 10. The point of this is, I think it's unlikely that Sora beats somebody like Clive Rossfield, which is what we're going to be getting to. But I'm not going to be power scaling. When people power scale, they throw 1,000 things at a wall and they ignore everything that doesn't stick, right? And they take one-time things, one-time events or feats, or like a move that Sora does one time. And then they'll say, oh, well, like, he can move at the speed of light because he sliced through buildings, even though he only did that one time in Kingdom Hearts 2. Well, he also got socked in the face and knocked on his butt one time in the Land of Dragons, right? But nobody's going to be talking about that one-time instance because it's to Sora's disadvantage to bring up something like that. So I don't like power scaling because it uses a lot, like... It doesn't use a lot, in my opinion, just from what I've seen from power scalers. And yeah, we are going to be, by the way, we are going to be talking about FF16 spoilers. So I'm glad that, J. Ray, you mentioned that, because I am, just for everybody in the chat, we are going to be talking FF16 spoilers, okay? So this is your spoiler warning. Now, whenever I'm not talking about FF16, because we're not just going to be talking about Clive today, I'm going to switch over You'll see, like, I'll have like some tweets up. You'll see me switch it over. Nothing on the screen is going to be spoilery, but what we're going to talk about in terms of FF16 is going to be spoilery. So that is your warning now. And like I was saying earlier, what I see a lot of power scalers do, make a lot of general rationalizations, hyperbolic statements to justify why a character is strong without any concrete evidence of what they can actually do with their gameplay, what they've done in the story. And like some things are valid, but like this whole like multiversal, omniversal like BS, I'm just like, I'm not about it, right? Just take what they can do and what they have done and put them in an arena against each other. That's why feats are important. Feats are the most concrete evidence we have to determine what a character is capable of doing. It's more reliable than something like a general statement. If you're going to claim a character can do something, you better be able to back it up with proof and evidence that that said character is capable of doing that thing with something that he has done. Right? That's what feats are. So that leads me to Sora versus Clive is going to be the main thing that we're going to be talking about today, because that was the buzz that was happening last month. Also, Shark Pack, I see you in the chat what's going on. And I'm going to switch over so you guys can see my screen. This is about the best I can do. Shout out to Prodigy, by the way. Shout out to Prodigy. Prodigy is the one who he usually makes these kinds of tweets. So this was tweeted out literally less than a month ago. There was some buzz about this, and I want to talk about it because I think it's interesting. So please, for all of you guys who love Kingdom Hearts content, if you're not following Prodigy on Twitter, please go follow Prodigy. And yeah, we're going to get into it. I need to take a drink, though, because I'm already yapping. Yeah. All right. So J Ray, letting you know right now, we're going to be mainly talking about Sora first, and then I'm going to address some Clive stuff because what I want to address is the arguments, right? And whenever I'm about to talk about FF16 stuff, I'll let you guys know. I want to address the main arguments that people bring up in terms of talking about why Sora, and listen, the reason why I don't I'm not trashing on people power scaling Sora. I just don't like power scaling for anyone in general. I want to clear that up. I just don't like power scaling in general, whether it's about Sora, whether it's about Saitama or whoever, you know, like whatever. Anyway, I'm ranting already. I want to address the main arguments and the main points that I see people make as to why Sora is like this super ultra powerful character and why he can win in a 1v1 against somebody like Clive Rossfield. Like I said, Sora on his own is incredibly powerful. He's incredibly powerful on his own. Or I'm sorry, Sora with friends is powerful on his own. He is powerful on his own, but he's more powerful with friends. And you know what? I'm going to hit record just in case the stream goes down because I know we've been having issues with that. So let me do that first. Okay. Sora with Donald and Goofy, incredibly powerful. They've accomplished so much together. Sora in a 1v1 on his own, not as powerful as people think, and I'm going to tell you why I think that. So, one of the arguments that I want to get to, and we're going to go through a bunch of them, a handful of them, the most popular ones that I've seen in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, again, I'm open to, changing my mind about this. So, people will say like, okay, well, the KH3 version of Sora is, maybe the Kingdom Hearts 2 version of Sora isn't winning against someone like Clive. I'm just going to say that as an example, or winning this fight. But KH3 Sora is like curb stomping him. It's no argument. Here's the problem whenever you use a version of Sora. When you're using a version of Sora for your argument, you're actually putting more limitations on him than you realize. Here's why. Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, let's just say Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, for example, because I see a lot of people say Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, right? If you're going to use Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora for your argument, Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora doesn't have stop magic. Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora doesn't have reflect. Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora doesn't have magnet. Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora doesn't have drive forms. What Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora has is fire, blizzard, arrow, thunder, and cure. Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora has Keyblade transformations. Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora can use the power of waking, but that's another argument that we are going to address in a minute. And Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora is powerful, but like, if you're going to say that, Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, logically, if you're remembering how Kingdom Hearts works and how these games work, he doesn't have all the tools that he has. But for the sake of this podcast, we're just going to say Sora has everything. For the sake of this podcast, let's just say he has everything. But that is a problem with using a version of Sora whenever you're trying to make an argument as to why Sora can beat someone like Clive, for example, right? You're actually putting more limitations on Sora than you realize. So, Kingdom Hearts, using a version of Sora, again, he's lacking certain abilities. And I think we also forget, too, that like Sora canonically gets reset to level 1 at the beginning of every Kingdom Hearts game. There's always a reason why he's getting reset to level 1. Now, if Sora was not reset to level 1 canonically, I think he'd have a much better chance. Taking a sip of water. In these 1v1 scenarios, but because he's being reset to level 1 canonically, right? He's not as strong as people think he is. He's still strong, but I don't think Sora beats Clive Rossfield in a fight. In a 1v1, I don't think Sora beats Clive. So, versions of Sora puts more limits on him. That's kind of like my first point. Now, my favorite argument, and this is the most powerful argument that people make, and it's stupid. It's honestly really dumb, and I'm going to break it down for you why this argument doesn't work. And whenever I'm done yapping, I'm going to go through the thread as well so you can kind of see what people are saying. People are saying things like Sora can rewrite reality and manipulate fate, right? Sora has reality manipulation. He can just rewrite the timeline. He can just rewrite reality, yada, yada, yada. And that's what puts him in like a god tier level, right? So like that's the argument that people are making. Now, here's the problem with this. And listen, I'm not saying y'all haven't played Kingdom Hearts, but I'm just saying is the difference between some people and others is that some people pay attention and some people don't. So, Sora, yes, he has manipulated fate. Let me ask you guys this. Has he manipulated it on his own will? He hasn't. Okay, he uses the power of waking to go get Kairi's heart back and to wake the hearts of the Guardians. But because he's breaking a natural taboo when he's going to get Kairi's heart, yeah, Kairi's the reason why Sora's able to rewrite history. Yes, he can't just do it every time. Exactly, Andy. By the way, welcome in. So Sora, because he used the power of waking to save Kairi, to get her heart back, as a result of breaking a natural taboo, Sora rewrote reality. He didn't do it in his own will. He cannot just rewrite reality at will. Reality was rewritten as a result of bringing Kairi back. So when people bring up the power of waking argument, it's, people say, okay, he can manipulate reality, but he can't do it at will. And here's the other thing that is really interesting about this argument. In a 1v1 battle against somebody like Clive, for example, in a 1v1 scenario, whose heart does Sora have to wake up in order to, quote unquote, rewrite reality? Even if he could do it at will, which he can't, but even if he could, in a 1v1, we're taking Clive as an example. In a 1v1 against Clive Rossfield, whose heart does Sora have to wake up in order to use the power of waking? It's silly. He's not waking up Clive's heart. He's fighting Clive in this scenario that we're painting in our head. And if we're putting him in an arena against each other, and they're duking it out, right? So the power of waking, rewrite reality, and manipulate fate argument is stupid. It doesn't work because Sora literally would not be able to do that in a 1v1. The power of waking is not used for battle. So the power of waking argument's gone. The rewrite reality, rewriting all like fate, changing the timeline, you can't even use that argument because Sora doesn't even have a means of doing it, right? Okay, so let me scroll to some other arguments. And I'm going to talk about Clive, but again, the point of this podcast is to address the arguments that people make for Sora and to kind of just throw some counter arguments out there to get you guys thinking and to hope and to make you see, and this is just my opinion, that Sora is not as powerful as people say he is. He's powerful, but he's not like omniversal, you know, like all this, whatever the power scalers are saying, right? So he can't do it at will. Okay, here's another one. Reflect magic. A lot of people say Sora can just spam reflect. He can just spam reflect, right? If he spams reflect at whatever Clive is doing or whatever whoever's doing, then he'll just automatically win. So I don't think people remember or understand how reflect works. Also, Sora, well, here's the thing, Trias. We haven't seen what Lushu or the Masters can do. We've seen kind of what Lushu can do, but I don't think Sora is on the same level in a 1v1, not on the same level as the Foretellers, not on the same level as Lushu. We haven't seen what the Masters can do, to be fair. We're just assuming because he can literally just like take Keyblades that he's on some top tier stuff, right? So I'm not going to be talking about like them at all because we haven't really seen a lot of them, right? But the reflect argument, okay, a lot of people don't really understand how reflect works because people say you can just spam reflect, right? One, you can't spam reflect because Sora's going to run out of MP. You can spam it for a time, but the last time I checked, whenever you play a Kingdom Hearts game, you're going to run out of MP when you spam reflect, right? And I don't like I was arguing with somebody. This is last year. This wasn't even this year about like it was a similar thing, but not about Clive. I was arguing with somebody. He's like, "Oh, Sora can just use items." Brother, if you have to use items in a 1v1 scenario, you're not stronger than the other person. That's literally a cop-out. Like, if you have to rely on an external source, right, you're not stronger than the person you're fighting. You're not winning that fight. You have to rely on an external source. And what I'm submitting is Clive Rossfield is stronger than Sora. He's stronger than Sora. Reflect doesn't actually reflect things back. It doesn't actually reflect the attacks themselves back. In very rare situations, it does. For example, if you fight Lingering Will in Kingdom Hearts 2, whenever Lingering Will uses like his Ultima Cannon thing, you can actually reflect that back at it. It's like an orb, and you can actually reflect that back at him. So in some instances it does, but not every instance. In order for Reflect to even do damage, you have to be in the radius of Reflect whenever it's going off for Sora to do damage. And Clive has a number of ranged attacks that he can use against Sora. So Reflect is a good tool for Sora to negate damage, but even if he spams Reflect, it can only go so far. Clive has a lot of icon abilities with Ramu with like shooting lightning stuff at him, his shot lock lightning ability. If you give him his Leviathan stuff, he has a lot of range abilities with Leviathan. He's got Giga Flare with Bahamut. Like Clive can do a lot at range against Sora. So Reflect doesn't actually do much unless Clive is right in Sora's face. Then it's going to do damage to Clive, right? Reflect is good, but it's not what people think it is. Another thing, Stop Magic. In my opinion, Stop Magic is Sora's best tool. If we're giving Sora everything from every game, and we're not just limiting him to like a form, Stop Magic genuinely is Sora's best tool in a fight. Here's the problem with Stop Magic. It's also limited by range. In Kingdom Hearts 1, you have to be within a certain distance of an enemy before you can even use Stop Magic against them. So, once again, Clive has a lot of ranged attacks. And we haven't even talked about Clive transforming into Ifrit yet, right? Transforming into his icon yet. But Clive has enough attacks where I feel like he can keep Sora at bay. Now, Sora has ranged attacks. And I think if Sora were to get close enough to Clive and use Stop Magic, I think he would have a much better chance. But that's even if stop magic works on him. Because Clive, even at one point, and we're getting into FF16 spoilers. FF16 spoilers for everybody who's wondering. Okay? Now, you can argue whether this is canon or not. And, I don't even know if I would say this is canon. But at one point, the game gives you access to Ultima's abilities. Who's the big bad, the god, the false god of FF16. If Clive has that, Sora's not beating him. But to be fair, Ultima, that was something that was it was like a post-game patch. It was just like a fun thing that the devs were like, we're gonna give you Ultima's abilities, have fun, So I'm just gonna, for the sake of this, I'm gonna say Clive probably is not gonna have that. He didn't use Ultima's abilities in the story, but he used everyone else's abilities. Sora has to be in a certain range to use thought magic. And here's the thing. There are a lot of bosses in Kingdom Hearts who are immune and resistant to stop magic. There are Disney villains who are immune and resistant to stop magic. If you ask me, I think Clive is curb stomping every Disney villain in the Kingdom Hearts verse. All right. So that's just my opinion. A couple other arguments I've seen is drive forms. Here's the thing with drive forms. If we're in a 1v1 scenario, and listen, drive forms are really powerful, they're really good, but in a 1v1, logically, Sora could only use limit form. Chat, how do drive forms work in Kingdom Hearts 2? How can you use drive forms in Kingdom Hearts 2? If you want to use Valor form, you need Goofy in your party. If you want to use Wisdom form, you need Donald in your party. If you want to use Master or Final, you need 2 people in your party. The only drive forms that Sora could use if you're giving him drive forms is limit form and maybe anti-form if Sora triggers it. If he triggers it, right? So even his drive forms are limited. Anyway, that's just what I have to say about that. I've seen people say, okay, well, Sora also has second chance. So does Clive, except it's not called second chance. Sora has once more. Sora has Leaf Bracer. He can heal himself. Okay, Sora can take 1 extra hit before he dies. Whoop-de-doo. And here's the thing. If he's healing himself, which Sora can heal himself, what standard of magic are you using? Are you using Kingdom Hearts 1 magic, where it only takes a little bit of MP? Or are you using Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 magic, where it takes the entire MP bar? Because, going back to what we were talking about earlier, if you're using a version of Sora, so if you were to use Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, when Sora heals, if he takes damage, his MP is spent, and it has to regenerate. Okay? I've seen people say, well, he has MP Rage. Well, that would imply that Sora is taking a beating in order to get his MP back. It doesn't help the Sora argument. So, okay, those abilities are great, but only if it's going to save him if he's in danger, but that's about it, right? And we're putting him up against somebody like Clive. Clive defeated icons, right? Which are literally like they're god-like entities in FF16. He defeated all of them by himself. And yeah, he had Torgal with him during some of the semi-primed fights. But Torgal's a dog, bro. He's not doing too much. Even though Torgal is known to have be stronger than he looks, and I won't get into spoilers about that. But Clive literally took down every single icon and absorbed their powers, and he took down Ultima at the end of FF16, who is literally the god of that universe. He punched a god for 999,999 damage, bro. So we have Clive against and here's the thing. Here's the problem with Kingdom Hearts scaling, right? Because some of Sora does have some solo feats, right? But 90% of his feats are with other people. So when when people bring up the argument of oh, well, Sora beat the Titans of Olympus. Well, he had Donald, Goofy, and Hercules, right? So it's impressive that he did that, but it's not a lot to go off of whenever you're trying to give evidence of what he can do by himself. Sora beats Organization 13. Okay, he fought Xemnas a couple times alone, but he didn't finish Xemnas alone. In Dream Drop Distance, when he beat him alone, actually, Sora almost got cooked and almost became a Xehanort vessel right after. He was exhausted, and he got taken over by young Xehanort. Sora literally almost became a vessel. And you can't even say that Sora fought Xemnas alone in Dream Drop Distance, because guess what? Sora has Dream Eaters in Dream Drop Distance. Even then, he's not even fighting alone. It's crazy. Sora, Donald, and Goofy, they beat Master Xehanort in Kingdom Hearts 3. Incredibly impressive, but he's not alone. Okay? A lot of times that we see Sora alone, he gets cooked. All right? Now, he does have some impressive solo feats, right? He beats Hercules in Kingdom Hearts 1 by himself, and there's a cutscene that follows that. I consider that canon. He beats Genie Jafar in Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm not talking about Kingdom Hearts 1 Jafar. All you have to do is beat the snot out of a bird and take the lamp, right? But Kingdom Hearts 2 Jafar, pretty impressive. He beats an all-powerful genie. Here's the problem, though, with... And why a lot of feats and just why a lot of arguments in Kingdom Hearts are just inconsistent as a whole is Captain Hook in Kingdom Hearts 1 is a harder fight than Hercules. He shouldn't be, though. You know? Compared to a demigod, right? Shouldn't be. But when you're telling me that Sora beat Hercules in Kingdom Hearts 1, which is fair, but this is a Hercules that his weakness is throwing a barrel at him? Bro, Clive is dog walking that Hercules, bro. You're telling me that Sora beat Genie Jafar in Kingdom Hearts 2, but the only thing that Genie Jafar does is throw structures and the occasional fireball at him? That's not as impressive as it seems, right? And then you have to just grab Genie Jafar's tail and spin him around until he gets dizzy? An all-powerful genie? Are you kidding me? Clive Rossfield is stomping every adversary that Sora has fought. Now, I will say, if this was Master Xehanort versus Clive Rossfield, that would be a much more interesting fight. I think Xehanort overall in a 1v1 is more powerful than Sora. Xehanort, with the flick of a wrist, with the flick of his Keyblade in Birth by Sleep, deleted the Land of Departure. Literally deleted it. I haven't seen Sora do anything like that. And Xehanort didn't even have the Keyblade, you know? It was just no name. Xehanort is more powerful than Sora. And there's other characters, I think, in Kingdom Hearts that are more powerful than Sora. What makes Sora powerful is his connection to his friends. It's the power of friendship. It's him relying on other people. That's what makes him super powerful, right? Where was I going with that? Yeah, so you have to explain to me. So, if Sora can beat Clive, right? And there's more FF16 spoilers. If Sora can beat Clive, you have to explain to me how Sora is squaring up against FF16's Titan, bro. And I'm specifically talking about Titan Lost. Because Titan Lost is to give you kind of how massive these Titans are and these icons are. The icons in FF16 make humans look like ants. Okay? Titan Lost, which is just the Titan icon jacked up on ether, makes the icons look like ants. That's how big Titan Lost is, right? How are you going to explain to me that Sora beats something like that? Because Clive beat Titan Lost, bro. Clive beat FF16's Bahamut and tanked a Zeta Flare, bro. Now, to be fair, it was Clive and Joshua who tanked the Zeta Flare, so Clive did have help. He didn't do that on his own. If he didn't have Joshua, I don't know if he'd been able to do it. I don't remember Sora being able to take a Zeta Flare, right? Canonically being able to tank a Zeta Flare. Yeah, maybe Sora can get a building thrown at him and tank that. But when Clive transforms into Ifrit, dude, the stats are multiplied so high, bro. I don't know how Sora's squaring up against him. So, And the thing is, like, another thing that I see, people are like, well, Keyblade lore is very powerful. And I agree, but it depends on the user. Like I said, Xehanort was able to wipe the land of departure. No problem. It depends on the user. You take the Keyblade away from Sora, though, guess what? Sora's powerless. And that was proven in the Yozora fight. You take the blade away from Clive, Clive still has immense power. Immense power. Let's read some chat. I want to read some chat because this is live. Let's see what the chat is saying. AndyIQ2SL says, I love your name, by the way, not just because it's my name, but I love your name. In Kingdom Hearts 3, we saw Sora give up when his friends got cooked by Terranort and the big Demon Tide. Yes. Like, even with Sora's friends in that instance, he got cooked. Right? Willful Darkness destroys Clive. See, if you're talking about like the deadly darknesses, like in Union Cross and things like that, I feel like we don't have enough evidence to really make an argument for that. Right? We haven't seen a lot outside of Union Cross and things like that. That one, I'm not really sure about that one. But I think they would have a better chance against Clive than Sora, right? Old Man Xehanort, who got destroyed by Terra, birthed by sleep 2 times. First Terra, and then Terra's armor cooking Terranort. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing with like Kingdom Hearts scaling, why it's so inconsistent, right? Because Terra and Birth by Sleep beat Xehanort and Vanitas. I guess he didn't like beat them, right? Vanitas eventually retreated. And then Lingering Will beat Terranort, right? But then, so is Terra stronger than Xehanort then, right? Because then Terra did get his body taken over by Xehanort. So that's where I'm like, a lot of these things in Kingdom Hearts, it's too inconsistent, I feel like, to build a solid argument, right? And like I was saying earlier, people just throw 1,000 things against a wall and just ignore everything that doesn't stick, right? Terra Loki, the strongest but the most hated character. You know what? I think I agree with you. I think Terra, 1v1, I think Terra beats Sora. Maybe that's a hot take. I know Treehouse ain't going to like that take. But, let's be real. I think Terra's feats 1v1 are more impressive. Now, Sora does beat Lingering Will in Kingdom Hearts 2. However, he's not alone. He has Donald and Goofy. Sora does have Donald and Goofy. 1v1, I don't know, because Terranort smoked Lingering Will and Sora in Remind 1v1. Donald couldn't even use Zeta Flare without passing out. And look, listen, standing ovation for Donald. Donald's one of the strongest mages in Final Fantasy. Okay, changed my mind. But he did pass out, and in no way was it on the scale, because people will say, that's another argument that I've seen people say. Oh, well, Donald used Zeta Flare, but Sora's stronger than Donald. Okay. We're back to the one-time instances, the one-time moves that these characters pull out. I'm fine with you using the one-time moves as an argument. For example, people use the Sora slicing through buildings in the Kingdom Hearts 2 final fight as that Sora's faster than the speed of light or something like that. It's okay, that's cool if you want to use that argument, but if you're going to use that one-time instance, I'm also going to use the one-time instance that Sora got socked on his feet in the Land of Dragons. And then people say, well, that only happened one time. Yeah, that's my point. It only happened one time, okay? So it's if you're going to use the one-time scenarios as an argument as to why Sora is beating somebody like Clive in a 1v1, you also have to take the one-time things that inevitably hurt Sora, right? You have to consider everything. Sora barely beats Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2. He barely beats Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2, and I think Sora's stronger than Roxas. He barely beat him, bro. Only beat him because he summoned his Keyblade back. But Donald using his Zeta Flare. Powerful, right? But when I talk about, Clive tanking a Zeta Flare or FF16, you have to understand. Joshua in Final Fantasy 16 says that Bahamut's Zeta Flare, whenever he's about to cast it, he literally says he would burn the world. Bahamut's Zeta Flare, jacked up on Ether, had the potential to scorch the planet. He had the potential to scorch the planet. Clive tanked that. With Joshua's help, but Clive tanked that. So, that's all I'm saying. If you're nothing about without the Keyblade, then you shouldn't have it. I like the reference. Yeah. And that's the thing, too. Like, Kingdom Hearts really be, like, nerfing characters. And that's a good point, Andy. And I'm not even going to talk about Kingdom Hearts characters. Let's talk about Final Fantasy characters. Because here's another argument that people make. Well, Sora beat Sephiroth in a 1v1. Sora beat Cloud in a 1v1. Okay. But that's the Kingdom Hearts version of Cloud and Sephiroth. Sephiroth was not doing what he could do in FF7 in Kingdom Hearts. Sephiroth is capable of so much more. He is completely, heavily, and they don't just nerf him for the fun of it, right? It's Kingdom Hearts, right? He's nerfed in Kingdom Hearts. So it's impressive that Sora beats that version of Sephiroth. You put Sora in a 1v1 scenario against safer Sephiroth, though, I don't think Sora's coming out of there alive. Even against Cloud, like that, I think Sora versus Cloud would be a closer fight than Sora versus Clive. But I don't know if Sora beats Cloud in a 1v1. Now, he beats him in Kingdom Hearts 1, depending on, if you actually beat him or don't beat him in Olympus. Like, even that is inconsistent. That's all dependent on the player. But Cloud doesn't even have all of his abilities in Kingdom Hearts, and he does in FF7. Cloud's not using any materia. You give Cloud access to all the materia that he has, not counting summons, because then that wouldn't be an authentic 1v1. But you give Cloud access to all the materia that he has in Final Fantasy VII, oh man, Sora's going to struggle. And not to mention Cloud also has that Mako super soldier strength, right? Sora don't have super strength like that. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about Sora versus Cloud. That one I think is much closer, personally. And I think Sora is more likely to beat Cloud than he is to beat Clive. But I think Clive could still, I'm sorry. I think Sora, I'm mixing up my Cloud, Clive, they sound the same. I think Sora is more likely to beat Cloud than Clive. But I think Cloud could still beat Sora. You see what I'm saying? So let's read more of the chat, and then we're going to talk about more things, more abilities, more arguments, and just we're even going to talk about other characters that I've seen people pit Sora against. And we're also going to look at like some things that people were saying in the thread as well. But I'm going to read a little more of the chat. A whole planet, that's to say, what's up, Trousers? How you doing? Yeah, dude. Bahamut Zetafleur had the potential to scorch the planet, and Clive tanked it, bro. Yeah. Yeah, also Terra beats Ericus, Like, that's the thing. Terra is stronger than people think. Maybe that could be another episode. Terra is way stronger than people think, right? Yeah, Final Fantasy characters are different Kingdom Hearts than in their own game. Exactly, right? Ultimacia in FF8 literally threw planets, right? At, like, Squall and all of them, and I mean, they tanked it. It does percent-based damage, I think. I don't know. It's been a while since I played FF8. But it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Sora's surviving getting a planet thrown at him. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you won't actually know, Yo, Ruthie, what's good? Good to see you. Good to see you, Ruthie. Disney Castle would be in flames if Sephiroth was at his FF7 power. Exactly. Yo, Dark Bahamut in the chat. Can we get a shout out for Dark Bahamut if there's any mods on the Twitch side? How's it going? Good topic here. Sora has become a very loved character over the years, so this is interesting. Yeah, so we're talking about, I'm not talking about Sora's character. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about his power, right? In a 1v1 against certain characters, right? Is he winning or not? A lot of Kingdom Hearts fans think that, like, Sora beats, like, freaking Goku and Clive and like all these people, but like I'm making the case, I'm presenting with evidence, logically speaking, without power scaling, that Sora is not as powerful as people think. That's the whole point of this episode. I'm not here to tell you that, like, yeah, Sora definitely loses, because I said earlier, I think Sora has a chance. I think he does. I just think it's unlikely that he beats someone like Clive. Now, here's another argument that I've seen people make. Also, Sid Lexia coming in with the raid. Yo, what's up, Sid? Good to see ya. Can we get a shout out for Sid? Welcome on in. And Bambina, can we also get a shout out for Bambina? I would do it, but I'm in the middle of a yap fest right now. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. You are just in time. I mean, we've been ranting for about 40 minutes now, but you know, you're never too late to catch the pod. Welcome on in, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. She said, get to yapping. Goku destroys Sora. He just has to land a clean punch. That's what I'm saying. Here's another argument that I see people make. And this is a fair argument. This is a fair argument if we're talking about, like, logically speaking here. Sorry. Clive can only technically use his icon abilities if he's fighting in Valencia. But Sora can use his abilities anywhere. And honestly, I think it's a fair argument. That's a fair argument. If we're just taking logic into consideration here, that's a fair argument. However, here's my problem with this argument. If that's the case, then Sora's victory here is solely dependent on location. And it's dependent on not what Sora can do, but what Clive can't do. For the sake of this podcast, let's just say that they both of them have their full powers. And listen, chat, I'm willing to be proven wrong. I said it earlier. If you have counter arguments, I would be happy to read them, right? I'd be happy to read them. I'm just telling you what I think, right? So, like, logically, that's true. Clive can only use his abilities in Valencia. So put him in Valencia. And Sora's not winning, if you ask me. And I already told you what Clive has done and what he can do. Like, Clive has abilities like Zantetsuken. And Sora has Zantetsuken as well. But Sora's Zantetsuken only has a chance to insta-kill weak enemies. It doesn't really work on bosses. Clive's Zantetsuken does crazy damage to everybody, right? Clive has Phoenix Shift. It's like Noctis's Warp Strike. Not as like warpy, you know. I don't know if that makes any sense. But he's got gap closers. Like, Clive is incredibly powerful. Not even with Ifrit, but with Ifrit, Sora's definitely not beating him. Not in a 1v1. Not against Ifrit. So yeah, the intention of these matchups is to put them against each other regardless of, like, location, right? This was a new one for me. This argument was a new one for me. So people were using the fact that, okay, so in the realm of darkness, time doesn't really move, right? So, and because time doesn't move in the realm of darkness, this is what I've seen people say. I've had comments on TikToks about it, and I think I saw someone in a video mention it. So because that Sora can move in the realm of darkness, and because time doesn't move in the realm of darkness, that means Sora and these characters that are moving in the realm of darkness have immeasurable speed. Huh? What? That's not how that works. Just because time doesn't move in a location doesn't mean characters have immeasurable speed. Ansem the Wise can move in the realm of darkness. Does Ansem the Wise have immeasurable speed? Is Ansem the Wise faster than Clive Rossfield? Oh, I guess he has to be, because he can move in the realm of darkness. That might be the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Where's that speed outside of the realm of darkness? Exactly. And I'm going to be real with you. Sora's fast. And Sora, I think maybe there's an argument that he's faster than Clive. I think he actually might be faster than Clive. But I think in terms of raw power and endurance and abilities, I think Clive overall is just more powerful than Sora with everything that Clive has. Let's see what else the chat is saying. Against Cloud, no. Very narrow fight, but Cloud has his limits. Cloud also has limits, right? Which alone are quite deadly. And like you said, adding Cloud's non-summon materia, like Double Cut and Sora, is going to have a tough time. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying Sora doesn't win, but I think that would be a tough fight for him. You know? Yes, J Ray, we are. Still talking FF16 spoilers. Yes, we are. Yes. Yes. Also, Heather, what's good? Good to see you. With the Realm of Darkness, I would say it depends on the strength of your heart and how much resistance you have against the darkness there. Sora does have a very strong heart after all. That's true. Sora's heart is that's to his advantage. However, Sora's not strong. Sora's only strong with his connection to others. That's what I'm trying to say, right? He's strong with the power of friendship. Clive also uses the power of friendship at the end of FF16. All right? I'm just saying. He does. All right, play the game. It's there. Sora is strong because of the ties connected to his heart. That's what makes him strong. That's the whole point of his character. And that's a great thing about Sora. But in the 1v1, he's struggling. He's struggling. Power of friendship is more powerful than anything. But how does the power of friendship work in a 1v1 against Clive Rossfield? See, that's the thing. Like, of course, obviously they're not physically there, right? It's like, okay, well, it's the power of friendship. It's just his connections to people. They don't have to be there for him to win in a 1v1 and use the power of friendship. But how does it work, right? The power of friendship is really just plot, if you ask me. And you can disagree with me on that, but that's what I just, that's just what I'm saying. Okay. Let me see what else I want to talk about here. We talked about location. I feel like there's something else I want to talk about with Clive. I'm forgetting it. But yeah, chat. I want to hear what you guys. I want to hear what you guys think too. I want to hear what you guys think because we are going to move on to another character last year that people put Sora against. I do want to scroll this thread because I want you guys to see. Oh, wait. I forgot that I actually replied to this, right? Let me see what I said here. Look at Land. By the way, shout out to Lands. He just said Clive. W Lands, by the way. W Lands. Shout out to Lands. Sora has more weaknesses and limitations than Clive that just get glazed over, including Reflect. We talked about that. Stop. We talked about that. MP and Power of Waking. If you use the Power of Waking argument, you don't understand it. It would be a good fight, and I think that. I think it'd be a good fight, but I think Clive wins. I think most likely Clive wins in this scenario. Okay. Mickey Mouse revives him. Has to rely on other people. Okay. What is this? Clive, when Sora summons a giant balloon dog, has to rely on somebody else. Yeah. Donald, we already talked about that. I love Clive, but he's cooked if he runs into Sora. A lot of people underestimate how stupidly powerful Sora is. Bro, this gets 143 likes, and it's just a statement. Yo, have fun lurking. I appreciate you, Mohammed. Power of friendship just being plot is hilarious, but it is. It is, Bambina. Here's the thing, right? I'm suggesting that I think a lot of people overestimate how powerful he is, and that's the point of this episode today. Let's see what other people are saying. When Clive sees the triangle button, but then Sora sees a whole ocean come his way, but then Clive sees this tweet. This one's hilarious. Clive sees Disney train coming his way, but Sora sees planetary fireball coming his way, but then Clive sees a million union keys. See, this one's funny. That's funny. I think the reaction command posts too, those are just funny. We can have fun with this, but it's the people who are really serious about this. I'm let me see. Because most of these people, I'm going to tell you right now, most of these people, with the exception of a couple people that are relatively sane, are saying that Sora wins. And I'm going to tell you why. Most of these people follow Prodigy. He's a Kingdom Hearts creator. So yeah, you're going to have people who are more biased towards Sora, right? Shout out to Prodigy, by the way, again. Sora's whooping his butt into another dimension. No evidence, right? Sora is guaranteed to be stronger than all FF MCs upon fighting them because he will only fight them in his series. That's why Sephiroth needed an out like only Cloud can beat me. Okay, that's kind of proving my point though, isn't it? He'll only fight him in his series. This is admitting that the Final Fantasy characters are incredibly nerfed in Kingdom Hearts. You put Sora against FF7 Sephiroth, it's going to be a problem. Sora took on 3 Titans in the tutorial world, not by himself. I don't know who the right is, but he's not making it past the mad teacups. This one's funny. The teacups are funny. Here's something else I want to bring up is a lot of people that I have had discussions with, right? They have a lot to say about Sora, but they don't know anything about Clive, or they don't know anything about the other person. And that's something that bothers me. If you're going to try to have a discussion with me, at least understand both parties, even at their base level. Like, because if you don't know anything about Clive, if we're putting him against Clive and you just glaze the heck out of Sora, which is why I think the Kingdom Hearts community overglazes him, and I think he's one of the most overglazed characters in video games from the Kingdom Hearts community, right? You know, Sora really, like, I'm getting triggered talking about this. Long story short, don't try to have a conversation unless you understand both parties, and then we can have a conversation, right? I will never have a conversation about something like this if I didn't play FF16. Because, like, I've also seen, I don't know if it's in this thread, I remember, like, some people, like, I saw somebody ranking, like, Lightning from FF13 above, like, Sora and things like that. I haven't played FF13, all right? If Lightning is more powerful than Sora, hey, I'm going to let y'all talk about that. Let me know. I haven't played FF13. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it because I haven't played it, right? But I'm going to talk about the things that I know a little bit of something about, right? I know a little bit, just a little bit of something about, right? Sora, and it's not even close. No evidence. Again, most of these are just going to be statements. And everything that's in here, we already talked about. We already addressed. This is power scaling, so we're not power scaling. We are not power scaling here. We're not doing that. Let's see. Sora hard slaps Clive. Statement with no evidence. No diffs. This isn't up for debate. We literally just proved why Sora doesn't beat him. Okay? Okay. Higher dimensionality in terms of tiering. We're not power scaling. It's too inconsistent. Finally, somebody who actually... But here's the problem with this. Like, I agree with this statement, but no evidence. You know, like, provide evidence why Clive is beating Sora. You know, things like that. Clive's not making it against Donald. Here's the thing with Donald Duck again, because they're probably thinking Donald can cast Zeta Flare. If I remember, that was a one-time thing. You know what else was a one-time thing? When Riku Ansem backhanded Donald outside of the battle arena in Kingdom Hearts 1. One backhand took him out. If you're going to use Donald's Zeta Flare, a one-time event, to justify why he's so powerful, then you have to also take into consideration all the times that he gets absolutely whooped. Even if it's one time. Okay, let me see here. I love Clive when he's losing. Again, statement, no evidence. Clive can KO KH2 Sora, but with Endgame Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, with the power of friendships and awoken rewind time and space power, Endgame Clive is not even close. He basically a melee version of FF6 Terra with summons in Ultima. Haven't played FF6. I can't speak on FF6, let alone Chain of Memories Prime Sora. Sora does not remember any of his abilities in Chain of Memories, okay? I see the lethal frame argument every now and then. Lethal frame, you cannot accurately judge because we've only seen lethal frame used with cards, okay? If Captain Hook throws out a 0 card when Sora's using a lethal frame, Captain Hook is breaking through lethal frame, okay? Is Captain Hook stronger than Sora? No! Come on now. Like, let's just think about it for a second. Lethal Frame is a great ability. He has a lot of broken stuff in Chain of Memories, but you can't accurately measure it and even really use it in an argument because it's restricted to cards. Okay? So that's my problem with that. And we already addressed, the first thing we talked about is using a version of Sora. KH3 Sora, okay. KH3 Sora doesn't have Reflect, doesn't have Magnet, doesn't have Stop, doesn't have Drive Forms, okay? Rewind time and space power. We already talked about how you cannot use the power of waking in a fight. Whose heart does Sora have to wake up in a 1v1 against Clive Rossfield? Whose heart does he have to wake up in order to use the power of waking? Okay. I'm not going to go through all these, but it's a lot of the same stuff, right? It's a lot of everything that I talked about is everything that's in this thread. And it's a lot of people who are delusional that think Sora's winning and he doesn't win, okay? Now, Here's the next one I want to get to. This was last year. Oh. Yeah. Sora versus Satoru Gojo. Now, I'll be honest with you. After considering it, I think Sora actually has a better chance of beating Gojo than he does Clive. And I will explain why. But I think it's unlikely, just like we talked about with Clive, that Sora beats somebody like Satoru Gojo. Shout out to Prodigy, by the way, again, made this tweet. This was last year, February of 2024, almost a year ago. I'm going to read some of the chat, and then we're going to kind of go into this one. I think this is going to be a fun discussion. Let's see. Do summons count as relying on someone else? I would say yes. Sora's summons are based on connection. I would argue that as part of his power because that's how it works in Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, but I would argue like he still has, it's still like if Sora summons Ariel, it's at that point it's 2v1, right? He's still summoning another, somebody else. Like even though he's using the power of his heart to summon, he's still summoning somebody else. You know what I mean? I would say, yeah, that's not an authentic 1v1 in my opinion. And you also need people in your party to even use summons. That's the other thing. You need people in your party to use summons. So you can't even use summons if you think about it that way. But I see where you're coming from with that. Let's see. But Kingdom Hearts fans are too busy complaining about the lack of too early news ahead of actual release time for Kingdom Hearts 4. They don't have time to actually play another game, especially from Square. I know, right? And listen, I give the loud minority of the Kingdom Hearts community that's on Twitter a hard time. But like, let's be real. Some of y'all, if you're gonna, we talked about this in the last episode. If you're gonna wear clown makeup, don't be surprised when people call you a clown. Yeah, let's see. Picking and choosing all the best stuff for a character that's been in multiple games and trying to say it's a fair fight against a character with a single game is straight up an insane thought process. That's a good point. Sora has been around for 20 plus years. He's not in every single Kingdom Hearts game, but he's in like over half of them. Clive has one game. And that's crazy because Clive is still beating him. It's insane. Yeah. Summons also need party members except for 3. Except for Kingdom Hearts 3. That's true. You don't need, in Kingdom Hearts 3, you don't. I can't remember about how it works, if it works like that in the base game. I know in Limit Cut, though, you can use summons, like in the data fights and stuff. Oh, that's another thing we didn't talk about. That's another argument that I've seen is, well, the data battles of Kingdom Hearts 3 are a reflection of the capabilities of how strong Organization 13 is. And Sora and the data fights are canon. And Data Sora beats solos all of the data battles. Okay, let me ask you something. Is Sora and Data Sora two separate entities? I think they are. Okay? And yeah, of course, Data Sora is a reflection of what Sora can do as well. But the problem is, canon or not, Nomura said they're canon. Okay, I'll give you that. But here's the problem. It shows what they're capable of, but we're not talking about Data Sora versus Clive. We're talking about Sora versus Clive. If that's, because some other people said like, oh, well, that's a reflection of how strong they actually were when Sora fought them. If that's a reflection of how strong they actually were when Sora fought them, then that's how strong they would be when Sora fought them. They weren't doing that, and Sora was not alone. Again, I'm not downplaying like all of Sora's feats because he wasn't alone, but I'm saying that's something to take in consideration in a 1v1. We don't have enough concrete evidence of a lot of fights that Sora does by himself to really justify if he can beat some of these characters that people are comparing him to. Data Sora sweeps normal Sora. Agreed. Agreed. In the final DLC fight post data battles. Yeah, I know you can use them in the data fights, right? Let me see your last comment, Andy. Reason why Sora's strongest season in Kingdom Hearts 2 is because Roxas goes out to defeat Heartless in training in days. Even Sora didn't train for that. Roxas did the work for him. See, and that's kind of a, That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Like, that's an interesting thought. Like, is Sora only, as strong as he is in Kingdom Hearts 2 because Roxas was getting stronger? And then whenever Roxas merged with Sora, that's why Sora was so strong. Interesting to think about. I have to think about that one a little bit more. It's an interesting comment. Interesting comment. I want to get into, I mainly want to talk about Sora versus Clive. I want to get into a couple more that I've seen just really quickly. This was something that that some people were talking about last year, right? Sora versus Satoru Gojo. Now, I think Sora has a better chance against Gojo. Let me explain. Satoru Gojo is from Jujutsu Kaisen anime, okay? The only way that Sora, I think, beats Gojo is stop magic. If Sora can get close enough to use time magic on Gojo, that's the only way he beats him. Other than that, Sora does not have anything that's bypassing infinity. And so if you guys don't know what infinity is okay, so Gojo has a technique called the limitless technique. And infinity is this infinite space that Gojo like kind of exists in that basically it makes him untouchable. It doesn't matter how fast you go, it makes him untouchable. Now, spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen, okay? J-Ray, if you're still in the chat, we're done talking about FF16. If somebody in the chat wants to let J-Ray know that we're done talking about Clive and Final Fantasy 16, you guys can. He's over on the Twitch side. I don't know if he's still lurking or if he's still here. But I'm going to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers. Manga and anime spoilers, by the way. Okay, so there are only 2 instances in Jujutsu Kaisen where Gojo's infinity was bypassed. Number 1, Toji Fushiguro using a cursed tool called the Inverted Spear of Heaven. The Inverted Spear of Heaven is a cursed tool that literally has the ability to nullify cursed techniques. Okay? So, of course, yeah. And that's actually how Toji beats Gojo in the hidden inventory arc. That's how he beats him. Now, Gojo comes back and, spoilers, he kills Toji because then he becomes like enlightened. He actually becomes more powerful because now he knows how to properly use red and he casts Hollow Purple for the first time. But that's pretty straightforward, okay? He just has a weapon that can nullify techniques. It nullifies the limitless techniques. It bypasses infinity. That's straightforward. Now, here's the manga spoiler. The second time and the final time that Gojo's infinity was bypassed was Sukuna and Maharaga fighting Gojo. And this hasn't been animated yet, but this is manga spoilers, all right? Sukuna uses what's called the world-cutting slash to bypass Gojo's infinity. Now, how does he do that? What is the world-cutting slash? Okay. Sukuna wasn't alone fighting Gojo. And this is completely off topic, but if Gojo and Sukuna fought 1v1, Gojo was winning that. It was 3v1, and then it was 2v1. Maharaga, the entity, I'm blanking on the Shikigami, I'm blanking on the terminology, that Sukuna was using to help him fight Gojo. Maharaga's abilities, what Maharaga does, what Maharaga's technique is, it adapts to curse techniques. So over time, Maharaga was slowly adapting to Gojo's affinity. When Maharaga takes damage, he actually adapts faster. And Sukuna is observing this. So Sukuna is using Maharaga's ability to adapt to Gojo's limitless technique, basically to create a slash. He uses this ability called the world-cutting slash. And he can't do this without Maharaga. He can't do it without Maharaga. He was never able to do it before, but he does it with Maharaga. What the world-cutting slash does, he doesn't go to attack Gojo. He actually cuts the space that Gojo exists in. He cuts the space that Gojo exists in. So he literally cuts the infinite space that Gojo exists in. And because Gojo is existing in that space and Sukuna is cutting the world, the universe that is limitless, it cleaves Gojo in half. That's how he bypasses infinity. Sora doesn't really have any moves that bypass infinity. The only thing that Sora has, if he get close enough, is stop magic. Now, that's if Gojo isn't resistant to stop magic, all right? Let's say for the sake of this discussion, he's vulnerable to stop magic. That's the only way that I think Sora is beating Gojo. So, but I think 9 times out of 10, Gojo beats Sora. I've seen people say, I mean, we can even scroll this thread. People say like, well, you know, Sora, you know, moves at the speed of light because he sliced through buildings. The speed of light is not infinite. You cannot bypass, you cannot speed blitz infinity, okay? Even the speed of light has a stopping point, okay? I want to see, we're going to scroll this thread real quick. Let me just see. Gojo seeing triangle above his head. See, that's funny. That's funny. The triangle command above his head. Yeah, Gojo is cooked. Gojo after Sora. Yeah, so like this person is saying it's the image of like after he lost to Sukuna. Gojo after Sora dives into his art, casts stop gun Balloonza. Balloonza isn't even a spell. Then uses Ars Arcanum. Okay. We have never seen, like, how would Sora in a 1v1 situation dive into Gojo's heart? If we're talking about the power of waking, Gojo's heart isn't asleep, you know? Like, it's silly. Now, Stopka, okay, that's a good argument. That's a good argument. Let me see what else people are saying. Maybe the one who has a genie on speed dial. It wouldn't be a 1v1. He needs to rely on something else. Gojo is dead the moment Sora pulls out this bad boy and Sora holding a barrel. See, that's funny too. That's funny. Gojo's affinity ain't doing anything when we shoot light beams. Here's the light beam argument. Not to mention how fast Kingdom Hearts characters can actually move compared to the JJK characters. I'm so glad we have that scene in Kingdom Hearts 3 when Lingering Will and Terranort fight. It really shows how fast these characters are. Yeah, and Terranort defeats Sora and Lingering Will, right? And they're fast. We literally just talked about this. Yeah, Sora can shoot light beams out of his Keyblade, but 1, they have a startup time, and 2, the speed of light is not infinite. The speed of light has a stopping point, okay? Like, this is just not a good argument. Sora's fast enough to bypass infinity with basic options. Glaze. This is all glaze. All glaze. We already talked. He doesn't have, the only thing he has that bypasses infinity is stop magic. My dude reset reality and brought people back from the dead using the power of waking, which we already talked about earlier. He's not going to be able to use that in a 1v1 scenario. And again, you're going to have people in this thread who are glazing Sora because, again, Prodigy tweeted this. He's a Kingdom Hearts creator. A lot of these people are Kingdom Hearts fans, right? So yeah, it's a lot of similar arguments to the Clive argument. I've even seen people say like, okay, well, Sora can just reflect Hollow Purple. Brother, do you know how long Hollow Purple lasts for? We've seen Hollow Purple last for a long time, dude. If Sora just spams reflect, like he's going, I think it's more likely that he runs out of MP before Hollow Purple runs out. And again, I'm not saying that's fact. I'm just saying I think it's more likely, right? And even with like, again, in this thread, people use the reflect spam argument, but reflect's only going to do damage if Gojo is close enough. Gojo has a lot of things that he can do at range. He has a lot of things that he can do at range, right? And how is reflect bypassing infinity? It's things like that. You know, that one's a little bit more unclear, but I think 9 times out of 10, I don't think Sora wins this fight. I think Gojo is beating him. Let me see what you guys are saying. Sora beating Naruto is wrong. All Naruto does is activate Barrio mode. But I haven't even watched Naruto, to be honest. So I can't speak on that, but let me know what you guys think in the chat or in the comments. Yeah. So, again, I think people just glaze Sora so much. And listen, people glaze Gojo too. But, like, even the anime glazes Gojo, bro. Like, the Gojo glaze is canon. The anime... Oh, you know, I can't remember the Zenin... Oh, I'm blanking on his name. The head of the Zenin clan. He has a technique where he can move... He just basically just moves like in frames. He moves really fast. And they're, like, talking about how fast he can move, but the narrator's literally like... But Gojo is faster. And they literally, his Jujutsu, and Gojo's not even the main character of Jujutsu Kaisen. His own show glazes him. They don't glaze Sora like that. It's only Kingdom Hearts fans. It's only delusional Kingdom Hearts fans on the internet. You know? So, yeah, it's a lot of these same arguments. And a lot of these people are just making statements. Let me see what this says. This is an interesting one. Sora can outspeed Gojo by a long shot, but can reflect Infinite Void. No. You know, that's the other thing. Gojo just needs to use one domain expansion. One domain expansion, one Infinite Void, and Sora's done. That's all Gojo has to do. And we've seen Gojo do it with ease multiple times. One domain expansion, Sora's cooked. Sora's going to be frozen. He's going to be receiving the information of the universe, but it's not going to be complete. He's going to be frozen in time. He's not going to be able to move. One domain expansion, nah, Sora's getting rocked by Gojo. He's getting rocked. Let me see what else is here. Sora can reflect purple, but that doesn't really matter because Gojo can also just move from it. True. So this person's making it, he's using arguments for both sides. Gojo has infinite curse energy, so he can just spam for as long as he wants. So I actually disagree with that. And this is, you know, to help Sora's case. Gojo does not have infinite curse energy. He has a lot of curse energy, but no one has infinite curse energy. You can argue maybe Yuta with Rika, you know, just a limitless well of curse energy, but no one has infinite curse energy, right? Sora can copy crap like purple. If he dodges it, reflects a Gojo. He can't do that. Sora can't copy abilities. That's Shion's thing, right? Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad I read this because I didn't even think the fact that literally Gojo has to use one domain expansion and he beats Sora. It's over. It's over. Yeah. But everybody in this thread will tell you that Sora wins, and it's all the arguments that we addressed. It's literally every single argument that we already addressed. So, last one, and this is going to be kind of it. This was a fun one. This is kind of a bonus one, right? Sora versus Kratos. Sora versus Kratos, y'all. If you guys think Sora is beating Kratos, brother, he ain't beating Kratos, bro. He's not beating Kratos, bro. Give me 1 second. I got to send a text real quick. He's not beating Kratos. Kratos literally defeated the gods of Olympus and the Norse gods, bro. Kratos has an insane amount of durability. I would argue has an insane amount of speed because Kratos killed Hermes, literally the god of speed, bro, the messenger god. He killed gods like Zeus, like Kronos. Bruh. Sora, and listen, Shovel Knight beat Kratos canonically, all right? I'm not going to argue that. But if that's the case, Shovel Knight is digging Sora's grave and dancing on it. Bro, come on. Come on now. And Sora might have the speed over Kratos, but I don't even know if you can argue that because Kratos beats Hermes. He also beats someone like Heimdall who has foresight, dude. You know? Kratos beat Hades. Kratos beat Hades and absorbed Hades' soul, bro. He beat Hades and absorbed Hades' soul, dude. Kratos, I think, has more hacks than Sora. Now, if Sora can get close enough to use stop magic, he might have a chance. I think Kratos' durability, though, is unmatched, right? His durability is unmatched. Sora might be faster than him. That's arguable. I'm not even going to dwell on this too long. It's a lot of the same arguments, right? It's a lot of the same stuff that we already talked about. I don't think he's beating Kratos. Here's the other thing about all three of these characters that we mentioned, and I'll kind of go back to Clive here. All three of these characters also have more battle experience than Sora. Also aren't as naive as Sora. Like, you have to take that into consideration as well. Kratos, don't even have to talk about, like, they all have more battle experience overall. Clive has years and years of battle experience. There's literal time skips in FF16, right? They all just have more battle experience than Sora, which I think is to Sora's disadvantage. I would say, honestly, if I were to put Sora, Gojo, Kratos, and Clive Rossfield in a room, I think Sora is the first one getting cooked. I actually think if you put all four of them in a room, that's a good question. I feel like Kratos comes out on top, to be honest. I feel like Kratos comes out on top. I think Kratos' battle IQ is unmatched, dude. But again, that's also something to consider. All these characters have more experience than Sora. Sora is known to be super naive, and to get himself in situations that almost kill him, right? And we've talked about it earlier. Again, Sora in a 1v, like the whole point of this podcast, and just to kind of wrap it up, and then I'll kind of address some last minute things in the chat. Also, all that ever was good. Keishu Sora not losing, we already addressed it earlier. I'm not going to address it again. We already addressed it. You can go back and watch the VOD if you want, but we already addressed it. And if you use a version of Sora, like Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora, Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora doesn't have everything that Kingdom Hearts 3 or Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora has, right? We addressed the reflect argument. We didn't even address the magnet argument, which we could, but it's like, I don't really know how much magnet is doing against, like, if Clive transforms into Ifrit. And, like, Sora also beat the one. Here's another thing, right? I've seen, like, okay, well, Sora's another good solo feat for Sora. He beat 1,000 Heartless. Impressive, okay? Clive Rossfield transforms into Ifrit. That's most of the Heartless dead already, just from him transforming. I'm just saying. I think Clive beats Sora overall. To wrap this up, the whole point of this is to address the glaze. People glaze the heck out of Sora, right? Sora is powerful, but he's only powerful because of his friends and his connections that he has. And I'm not to say that he's weak. I don't think Sora's weak at all. But I don't think he's as powerful as a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans make him out to be. I think he's strong, but all the arguments that I've seen that we've addressed, I had counter arguments for. The power of waking, we addressed that. There's no way for him to use the power of waking in a 1v1. We addressed the reflect argument. We addressed even the cutting through buildings argument a little bit. The stop argument. Like, he has limitations that I think people just ignore. And yeah, Clive does too, right? Clive's abilities are on a cooldown. If we're considering gameplay for Sora, we have to consider gameplay for Clive. Clive's abilities are on a cooldown, right? Whenever he uses them. But I think Clive is just going to overpower Sora in the end. Now, I'm not saying Sora loses every time. I'm just saying I think it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely that Sora beats Clive. Whole point of this is to say again, and we'll just kind of go up to the close-up screen here. Sora, I think, is overglazed. I think people overglaze him. I don't think he's as powerful as people say he is. And I gave my arguments why I think that. If you guys are watching the VOD, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know some arguments that you have for Sora, against Sora. I like to read it all. I like to have healthy debate, right? But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me see what people are saying in the chat real quick. Terra and Aqua beat Sora in your opinion. Well, Sora did beat Aqua in Kingdom Hearts 3 in the Realm of Darkness. But Aqua was also fighting Riku and Mickey before Sora showed up. I don't know if Sora beats Terra in a 1v1. I don't know about that. I don't know. Yeah. And Sora, timeline-wise, has only been fighting for 3 years. Good point. Good point. She wasn't in control. That's true. I feel like if Aqua was in more control, maybe she could probably beat him. Yeah, that's true. True. Good point. Good point. Oh, okay. Cage fans glaze Sora too much when there's other characters who have beaten stronger people than Sora has, like Terra. That's the whole point of this. I think Sora is just overglazed. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but that's really what this podcast is about. So thank you guys for listening to me yap. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I think whenever we do these solo podcasts whenever we do more of these, I think the solo ones are going to be live. I do have a podcast planned after the Game Awards. I won't say who the guest is yet, but that one will be recorded and will be premiered. That will not be a live one. But I like doing some live every now and then. This is fun. Kirby solos them all. Facts, dude. Kirby solos the entire Kingdom Hearts universe. I will back you up on that, bro. Kirby is soloing Clive too. Kirby's soloing everybody, bro. Yeah, listen. We don't. I'm not really a big Kirby guy even, all right? We're not going to really talk about Kirby here, right? I'm going to talk about the things that I'm really interested in talking about, but I agree. Kirby is soloing everybody, bro. Kirby soloed everybody. So thank you guys so much for listening. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, again, let me know what you guys think. And yeah, leave a comment, drop a like on the podcast. Thanks for hanging out in the live chat. And that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Like I said, we'll be live with the Game Awards on Thursday, and we will be having a podcast up the next week once the Game Awards is all finished and concluded. So please look forward to that. Thank you guys. My name's Andy Brew. I guess I'll leave you guys with like kind of the the intro, and then I'm going to end it. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.